Hey guys, what's up? It's Sid Lish here with the Boss Podcast, and really excited today for this topic that I'm going to be talking about. And I have a lot of passion around this because this is what I do every single freaking day. I hire people for our company, I hire people for other people's companies, and I've spent many years in recruiting, especially sales reps. So, what I want to talk about with you all today is what I have learned from hiring employees and really guiding you in simple tips, tools you can use to not make the same mistakes that I've done, right? These are going to be common mistakes that I see, that I've personally done many times, that will kill the growth of your business, right? And I see, again, this so often, especially in 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. And this can apply to you if you're in network marketing, if you're in direct to consumer, direct sales. This is going to be a lot of like internal hiring tips that I see, but I see this a lot, especially with my 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. And I think that the reason I see it a lot is because when you get to 8 figures, a lot of 8 figure entrepreneurs have figured this stuff out because they have hired so many people, because they have had trial after error, mishire after mishire. And so they've gone through the ringer with 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs. A lot of people get to 6 figures on their own easy, some not, of course, depending on the type of company. But a lot of 7 figure entrepreneurs, they're having to start to hire, and they start to hire and then they're like, oh shit, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So for me, for example, I'll just give you the background on like why you should even listen to me in this topic, because I do have a lot of experience in this. All right. So first of all, I spent the first 5 years of my adult career in the direct sales force industry. And within that time, at the ripe old age of 22, I personally recruited and basically hired on 100 sales reps. And I built a team of 7,000 people all over the country, all over the world. I got to speak in front of people on stages. It was amazing. It was a lot of fun, but I learned a lot from that experience. The second thing that I've done that's given me a lot of experience, a lot of trial and error, a lot of painful mistakes, is our company right now. So we run a company called Prism Inc. And our bread and butter, our primary product, our sole product really, is recruiting talent. We're a sales placement agency. And so we take our resources, our different talent acquisition systems, and we source top candidates, A players, for sales teams. Whether it be 8-figure sales teams, whether it be a one-time placement for a 7-figure entrepreneur, right? We're really focused on targeted placements. So we're not about churn and burn. If you're about churn and burn, you probably do a lot of these things, quite frankly. This is like churn and burn central, what I'm going to walk you guys through, the things not to do. But if that's your style, that's your business model, like all good, go for it. But we're really about precision placements. And so this is what we do. Okay, so I have interviewed hundreds and at this point, thousands of people. And I've also conducted hundreds and hundreds of interviews. Okay. And so I really have a lot of experience in this that I feel I can speak from, because this is our bread and butter of what we do. So I'm going to walk you through the things not to do, a few things to do, best practices. But first, what I want to say is something fascinating I learned from the book Top Grading. Amazing book. Top Grading for Sales is a lot shorter than the OG Top Grading. But they talk about the cost of mishiring, and people don't realize this. But the cost of mishiring, let's say one sales rep that you hire, is 5 to 27 times the first year salary of that person if they leave within the first year. Okay, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy in my opinion. So if you're paying them $100,000 in their first year, if that's their projected income, times that 5 to 27 times, right? That's what it costs you to mishire. And that comes down to like resources, time, energy, CRM system, adding people into the technology, right? All of these different things that they calculate. There's cost to mishire calculators on the internet. And it's pretty frightening when you realize how costly it is to mishire. And so that's why I'm really passionate about this, because again, we do precision placements and our goal is to literally never have a rehire. And what I'll say is, I think out of all of the individuals we placed in the last 12 months, I think we only had one person not last. And that's huge for companies. And it's even bigger for companies like our ideal clients who are 8-figure entrepreneurs or 8-figure companies, right? That are literally one of these sales reps is generating $1 million a year for them. So the cost of that mishire is massive, right? Okay, so I'm going to get into this. So what I want everyone to realize is, as we go through this process, these are just things I've observed, right? This is what I've seen, but time after time after time, I've seen these things play out. And so you can listen to me, you don't have to listen to me, but here we go. The first thing that I see people make the mistake with is thinking that because they like the person in the first 5 minutes of the interview, that they're gonna be the one. We like people that look like us, that act like us, that sound like us. We're more likely, even myself, to hire people that are more like us. It's the familiarity. We like to be around people that look like us, right? That's why representation in media is so important, right? Because more eyeballs. And so what I've found is in the first interview, if you can put your biases aside, a lot of people don't. A lot of people will go into the interview and they're like, I know what I want, I know what I need, and I think it looks like this. And then they see someone who doesn't look like that, or doesn't sound like that, or doesn't act like that, and within the 5 minutes, they make a decision that they're not gonna go in that direction. But what I've found so often is if you can actually get past that first 5, 10, 30-minute interview into a second and third round interview with some of these people, if they're qualified, if you do enjoy them, but they aren't necessarily like totally landing for you, it's really important to give them that second chance because of our biases, right? And one thing to realize is there's a dichotomy with this, so I don't want to be contradictory, but life is full of dichotomies. So there's a piece of interviewing where it's important to see that some people do need to warm up, right? And it depends on what you're hiring for, right? If you're hiring for a certain role that doesn't require like technology, right? It doesn't require a lot of with clients, with customers. If someone's a little nervous or a little shy or a little quiet in the first interview, but you really like them, you really think their skills match up with the job, you think that their vision aligns with the job, then it might be worth a second round interview to see if they warm up to you. Or with a salesperson, if they can't jump on the phone and win me over within the first 30 to 60 seconds, I'm not buying from them, right? And so that changes it a little bit. So it's important to understand when you're hiring, depending on what you're hiring for, can they make a first impression quickly? And are they shy and are they not saying anything and they're awkward? Depending on their role, right? And at the same time, the flip side of that is the first interview is the best you're ever gonna get. The interview process is the best you are ever gonna get. So if you are experiencing things with this person, but you like them because they look like you and they act like you, if you're giving them leeway because of that's the best you're ever gonna get, it's never gonna get better after that. It's only gonna go down. The interview process, that's where they're putting on their shiniest shoes. So it's important to see things at face value and to not let your biases get in the way of that. And that is one thing that I see kill growth in businesses and in the hiring process is hiring based on who looks like you and acts like you and who's similar to you, and realizing that this is the best you're ever gonna get and it's probably only going to go down from here, if not stay the same. So you got to really take things at face value, okay? The second thing that I see people doing all the time in hiring, and this is post-hiring, once you've hired a person, not setting proper expectations. This kills your business. I see it so often. People throw somebody in the ring. They literally are like, hey, good luck, sink or swim. They fire hose them with information, and then the person doesn't perform. When we onboard people, we're with them 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, touching base with them throughout the day on Slack for literally 2 weeks with everything laid out of what they're gonna do, the entire roadmap. And prior to that, we're setting very level set expectations. And this happens even in the interview process 3 times. Hey, this is the vision, this is the mission, this is the values. Do you align with that? This is the scorecard, this is what we're doing. Do you align with this? Do you feel like this is something that you're gonna be willing and able to do, right? Setting those expectations before you even hire them, showing them the role before you even hire them, walking them through the vision, mission, values to make sure they're even aligned, and then doing it again on the back end. So doing it multiple times in the interview process. You might think it's redundant. It's not. This person might be with you for the next 5 to 6 years. It's important that they're aligned on those things. Some people are scared that it'll scare people off, right? Totally understandable. That's where the 8-figure companies really have this down. But on the back end, setting those expectations again. Hey, now you're on board. We're excited to have you on board. Let's go through the vision, mission, values again. Make sure we're still aligned because we're not going to have a mishire. No way. No, thank you. And then this is what's expected of you to do, right? This is what's expected. And then making sure that they agree to those expectations. Asking them, hey, do you feel good about this? Does this sound reasonable to you? Do you feel that you can fulfill on this? It's so simple, but people don't do it. They want to brush it under the rug so that the person doesn't leave. They're scared of the person leaving, I think. And so it's really important to set expectations all throughout the process, you should know who you're hiring like the back of your hand by the time you hire them. You should know them that well. You really should. It's very important when you're hiring, to interview and interview hard. I think John Wooden has a quote that says, good athletes, A players, love to be coached, and they love to be coached hard. So if you can coach this person hard before they even get in the door, by the time they're in the door, they're not scared of you, right? And then they'll perform. They'll get going. Okay, you got to see them in action. So again, a lot of people, I'm just going to use sales for an example because that's what we do. We'll get on the phone with someone. In the beginning, I never tested people. I was just like, oh, they're great. I like them. They're cool. I made all the mistakes. I didn't set expectations. I was like, you could be great on this role. I'm not going to tell you anything about it, but you'd be great. Let's just get you in the door because I want to get you hired. And then they would get on the role and they would suck. And then we'd have to train them to get them to a place where they could even fucking close. Just because someone is good as a person doesn't mean they're gonna be a good employee. And so what I like to do with every person that we hire is I like to do a 3-day test. And it depends on if they're in sales, you can give them a couple calls. For us, like with VAs and stuff, we'll do a 3-day test of the activities that they would be doing. And I'm like, hey, and the communication in the beginning is I'm testing them all throughout. Right? Each thing is a little test. How fast do they respond to emails? If my values are speed is king. How fast are they getting back to me after the day is over? Are they reporting what they said they were supposed to report at the end of the day? So I give them all these tests and I'm basically like, hey, here's 3 days of work that you're going to do. And they do. And I say, if we hire you, we'll pay you. And so we'll test them on the actual work they would be doing on the job. Because if they can solve the problem for me that I need solved, the reason why I'm hiring them, before I even hire them, I'm going to hire them. So it's if they can do the things and follow the test and pass the test, I'm more likely to hire them. So give people little tests and test them in accordance to what they're going to be doing. If you're hiring an assistant, test them on admin tasks that they're going to be running for your business, things that are low, easy to fix, not anything where they're interfacing with clients or anything, but do little tests to ensure that you can see them in action, right? Oh yeah, ask them uncomfortable questions on the interview. This comes down to the interview as well. So be willing to ask the difficult questions. Be willing to coach them hard. Be willing to treat them as if they were an actual employee before they are, so that they aren't totally thrown off guard when they join your company and then you're like this asshole because you got them in the door and you're like, thank God I finally got an employee and now they're in and now I can just be myself again. Just be yourself up front. The last thing that I see all the time is a lack of an onboarding call or no onboarding call at all, okay? This is interesting because you spend all this time and all this money and this knowing that if you mishire this person, that it's going to cost you 5 to 27 times their annual income if they quit within the first year. And then you don't onboard them. And this kind of goes along with properly setting expectations, but I see zero urgency with some people. And I see this with some of the clients, the 6-figure and 7-figure clients that we work with. We just found you a rock star closer and you haven't onboarded them yet? It's been 3 days. What are you doing? This person is valuable. This person could bring in another $1 million base to your company this year and you're not onboarding them. Like, where is your urgency? Okay? And that might sound intense, but for real, what are we doing? What are we doing? We're not treating our business as like a business. That's why you're trying to get a closer in the door. Figure out what you're doing. Okay, anyways, so people need structure. And there's a balance between giving them too much irrelevant information and no resources at all, where you're just expecting them to do this. And again, I see this a lot with people who are hiring their first closer. They don't even know what to give them. They're just like, start taking sales calls. Here's a few recordings I did. You get to be in that onboarding call with them, telling them every next piece of information you're gonna give them. It's, hey, we're gonna be doing an onboarding call tomorrow. And in the meantime, I'm going to send you XYZ in an email for you to review. Once we're on that onboarding call, we'll cover next steps. You get on the onboarding call. It's, hey, welcome. Here's the vision, mission, values. Once again, here's the role. I just want to make sure you're clear on the role. Are you clear on the role? Do you feel you can commit to these things in the role? How committed are you? Great. Go through the things. And then you onboard them. You give them the information that they need, not just extra information to freaking read it. You give them onboarding things from a logistics standpoint operationally. Do they need an NDA? Do they need an agreement signed? All of these things, people don't even do this. And then they're wondering why they're not getting good people in the door. It's because you're not treating them like they're literal gold, right? So people need structure. People need to know what they can expect. Everyone I've ever hired I just need to know the path that is ahead of me so that I can just do what I'm good at now, right? You can't just expect them to come in and work on your behalf with no incentivizing, no motivating, and no future plan, right? We're goal-oriented beings. We need a plan, right? So you got to take them and you got to train them, and you got to teach them how to work for your company specifically, because they've worked at past companies. They don't know what you like. They don't know what you need. They don't know what you want. And so you get to take this time and show them, hey, this is what we do here at Prism. This is how we act. This is how we incorporate our values. This is our meeting cadence and structure. This is what we're doing on a daily basis. This is how our salespeople act. This is how our operational people act. Let me introduce you to one person from each of the different sectors of our business. It's like, how can you envelop them into the culture and into the team and into the company and organization, and then train them on how things are done here, so that it's not, they didn't do something the way I liked it. It's because they probably got rewarded otherwise in a different company for a different thing. So you've got to reward them and train them in the way that you want them to be trained. It takes time. It's like training a dog, right? And not to be degrading, but we're basically just animals. So we need to be trained, reinforced positively, negatively reinforced sometimes. And that only comes from you onboarding properly, taking them through proper steps. I could break I think I have a whole video on onboarding I can make. There's so much to just the onboarding call, but getting them into the culture, like enveloping them into the space, into your company. So these are the main things that I see. So it's, again, lack of onboarding call or no onboarding call at all, no onboarding process, no onboarding structure. Create at least 2 weeks out, okay? And then not testing, trusting your gut versus this is the best they're gonna be, right? It's one and the same. And then not setting proper expectations. And again, this is so important. It doesn't matter what you're hiring for. If you can take a few of these things and really get them down, lock them into your company, make them SOPs, make them standard operating procedures for yourself, for your company, it's gonna massively impact your organization, and it's going to help you finally grow. So I hope this was valuable. If it was, please share, please subscribe. So happy to have you guys here, and we'll see you in the next one.